You were the responsible one, the one who didn't cause problems, the one who figured things out on their own, the one who somehow always knew what the adults in the room needed before they asked. Maybe you were the peacekeeper, the one who made sure the atmosphere stayed calm, the one who read the room before you even knew what reading the room meant. Or maybe you were the little parent, the one taking care of siblings, managing moods, carrying worries that were never yours to carry. You were called mature for your age, responsible, an old soul, and maybe part of you was proud of that, because it meant you were doing something right. But here's what nobody told you then, and what we're going to talk about today. That maturity came at a cost, and chances are you're still paying it. Growing up too fast doesn't always look dramatic. It doesn't require a chaotic childhood or an obvious trauma. Sometimes it looks like a parent who was emotionally unavailable, a home where tension was always just below the surface, a family that needed you to be okay so you were okay always. Psychologists call this parentification, when a child takes on emotional or practical responsibilities that belong to adults. It can be as subtle as learning very early that your needs were secondary, that expressing them made things harder, that the safest thing to do was to be easy, be helpful, be invisible. Here's what's happening underneath the surface. Children who grow up in environments where they have to manage adult emotions or needs develop what researchers call a hypervigilant nervous system. Their brain learns to scan constantly. What's the mood in this room? Is someone upset? What do I need to do or not do to keep things stable? This was intelligence. Your brain found the most efficient way to navigate an environment that asked too much of you. It learned the rules fast, adapted quickly, and kept you safe. The problem is that the brain doesn't automatically stop doing this when the environment changes. When you move out, when you grow up, when the situation is different. The scanning continues. The monitoring continues. The automatic shrinking. The automatic people-pleasing. The automatic putting yourself last. It continues. Because it was never a choice. It was the smartest strategy available to you at the time. So what does it actually cost you? The first cost is disconnection from your own needs. When you spend your formative years focused on what everyone else needs, you don't get much practice identifying what you need. And as an adult, that shows up as a strange emptiness when someone asks, "What do you actually want?" You're not sure. You've spent so long tracking everyone else that your own signal got very quiet. The second cost is difficulty resting. For people who grew up too fast, rest can feel genuinely uncomfortable. Productivity became safety. Being useful became identity. So doing nothing, just existing without producing or helping or managing, can trigger a deep and irrational guilt. The third cost is relationships that feel one-sided. When giving is what you learned, receiving can feel wrong, uncomfortable, like you're a burden. So you give and quietly wonder why you always feel alone, even when you're surrounded by people who care about you. And underneath all of it, a kind of grief for a childhood that was spent being small in all the ways that mattered while appearing so big in all the ways that were visible. Research on adverse childhood experiences, known as ACEs, consistently shows that taking on adult responsibilities too early has measurable effects on brain development. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for decision-making, emotional regulation, and understanding your own needs, develops differently in children who are chronically stressed or required to be hypervigilant. Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris, a pioneer in childhood stress research, describes it as the body's stress response being stuck in the Owen position, not because there is something fundamentally wrong with you, but because your brain adapted to the environment it was given. You adapted, you survived. And the person that shaped you into perceptive, capable, attuned to others, that is real. Those qualities belong to you. But adaptation has a cost. And part of growing as an adult is recognizing what that cost was and beginning slowly to reclaim what was lost. So what do you do with all of this? The first thing is to grieve what you didn't get. This is not about blame. It's not about rewriting your past or deciding your childhood was terrible. It's about acknowledging that something real was asked of you before you were ready, that you missed things, that the child version of you deserved more space, more play, more permission to not know what to do. That grief is real, and it deserves to be felt, not pushed down in the name of being strong or grateful or fine. The second thing is to practice receiving. Not in a grand way, just in small moments. Let someone help you. Accept a compliment without immediately deflecting. Ask for what you need, once clearly, without apologizing for it. The third thing is to reconnect with what you actually enjoy. Not what's productive, not what helps anyone. Just, what do you like? What makes you lose track of time? What did you love as a child before you got so busy taking care of everything? Start small. Give yourself 1 hour a week that belongs entirely to you. No agenda, no output, just existence. It will feel uncomfortable at first. That discomfort is not a sign you're doing it wrong. It's a sign you're doing something your nervous system has never been taught to allow. Everything you became made sense given what you were asked to carry. The responsibility, the perception, the quiet strength. Those things are yours. They were forged in something real. But so is the part that never got to just be a kid, the part that learned to need very little, the part that is still quietly, waiting for permission to take up space. That permission isn't something you have to earn. The work now is not to undo who you became. It's to add back what got left out, to let the capable adult you are make room for the needs you were never allowed to have. And that takes more courage than most people realize. If you recognized yourself in this, you're not alone. More people than you think grew up carrying things that were never theirs to carry. Subscribe to SelfRevealed if you want to keep understanding the patterns shaping who you are. Every week, we go a little deeper. And if you're ready to start working on the loops that kept you stuck, our 14-day Overthinking Workbook is in the description. 1 exercise a day, built for exactly this kind of pattern. See you in the next one.